Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's episode. I'm pleased to be joined by Kyle Frye, CEO of Cortechs.ai. How are you today, Kyle?
I'm doing great, Dario. Yeah, thanks for having me on. And how about yourself?
Having a great day. It's finally springtime here in the Philadelphia suburbs, and going to
Yep.
probably hit the golf course later today.
There you go. That sounds great. That would be good.
Cool. So let's jump into to our discussion here. So maybe just start by giving us a brief overview of Cortex and the specific healthcare problems your AI solutions address.
Yes, the Cortechs.ai, we've been around basically since the early 2000s, really a commercial product with pioneering in the quantitative neurospace with our flagship product of NeuroQuant. We really have been FDA regulatory cleared with a CE marking, really since 2015. But over the years, we've evolved much more than just being what our NeuroQuant from brain volumetrics, and now we have the ability to, quantify lesions. We have the ability to look at further disease states such as Alzheimer's. We have the ability to look at brain tumors, quantify brain tumors. We have a prostate product called OnQ Prostate that has specific IP. We have a CT product. So now we actually have 6+ regulatory approved products, which is very unique in the AI space, where you normally will see, a company with one, maybe two product offerings. For us, we're very unique, and we feel that we're in a really good position having as many AI products that are regulatory cleared. And really, it's all about putting the patient first, and that's been our journey. And we're on a pretty special journey since I started about 12 months ago.
Awesome. So lots to dig into here. So tell us just a little bit about how you've incorporated AI into your product line. What purpose does it serve? Tell us a little bit about maybe the
I think you have a lot of companies that utilize AI, but in actuality, maybe the functionality within the technology is not really AI, right? There might be a portion that has some small piece that is AI, and then it's called AI. Really, the beautiful piece about what our product offerings and what we do is we actually have deep learning, machine learning, happening with our algorithms, meaning it's constantly learning, we're constantly training. So our efficacy, our specificity, our ability to become stronger and more specific in what we target, to feel, to allow our physicians, our patients, our hospital institutions to feel, incredibly comfortable in the results that they see. That's by us including the AI component, which is really the deep learning and machine learning. And that's something we started doing about, 6 years ago, that journey. Before that, it was really, kind of looking at atlas maps. And now we've brought together our dynamic atlas map, and as well as that training of the algorithm. So that really allows us to feel really strong. And each iteration, we're on our latest version within NeuroQuant of 5.1. That really allows us to feel very comfortable and confident that our AI is at its very best, because we're constantly training and utilizing that and our core algorithms. So it's not just a way that you log on that's AI, it's really deep in with what we do. And I think that really helps us stand out in what we're doing from a day-to-day basis.
Interesting. So obviously you've got some kind of a library, right, that the AI is training on, and then you've got like an AI engine that is leveraging whatever the learning from that database. And what does it do? How does it manifest itself in the day-to-day activities of your
So basically we're, for us, when it's released, it's gone through all the modeling, it's gone through, we have the largest normative database in the world. If you look at us, we are processing more cases than any other company in the world in the quantitative AI space. We are the industry leader. We don't take that lightly. We actually take that as a badge of honor to continue to strive and innovate. So every version that we have that comes out, even if it's a minor release, and we're training to make sure that we're constantly getting that. So you would see that in those releases, right? So from going from one release to the next, there might be a few features in there, but really it's all going through, running through our AI engine within the algorithm, and we may look at making some tweaks, but we're constantly training to have that be better. So what you would see in versions 2, from 2 versions ago, call it 2 years ago, to what you see now is dramatically better than what you would have seen. And that's thanks to AI. If we didn't have that AI ability to run through all of those cases in such a quick manner, our ability to get this out to help physicians, to help the patients wouldn't be at the pace that we do it at. And so really, AI is at the core of being able to get those next level releases. So that's how we do it, is in our releases that we put out there.
Excellent. So from a regulatory standpoint, how do you manage that sort of velocity, I guess? I mean, it seems like you're a very active release cycle. How do you manage it all?
Yeah, I think we have a great internal team that's really focused on really having a very robust QMS system, really having the right SOP, and really following to a really rigorous standpoint. I think when you've gone through as many audits that we have gone through, you really become an expert on making sure that your system is at the very best that it can be. And so I think that really allows. You have a really strong quality system. You have a really strong focus on making sure that your quality system is the absolute best it can be. When you're making sure that all the right processes are there, and you're constantly making updates to become better as well on that. It allows you to go through your regulatory cycles in a much more process-driven way versus if you've never done it, you're trying to throw everything together. You're trying to talk to 15, 20 different consultants, who can help us to, here, and you're spending maybe some unnecessary money. As you grow within and mature within a company, you really, understand that having a really strong process, a strong team, and a strong quality management system is really the core of how you can navigate the regulatory processes in a much more streamlined way. So that's what we do. Excellent.
So what about sort of the whole notion of AI in the regulatory environment? How do the regulators, how have they viewed AI? Do they view it suspiciously? I mean, I'm just curious how the process of the regulatory compliance changes when you have an AI product.
I believe that especially from the FDA side, I believe they've really begun to ask for a lot of different data quality metrics. That comparisons that really help to have that comfortability, right? And I think looking at AI 8 years ago is much different today than how it was viewed then. I think you also have a lot of, call it, predicate devices. You have looking at how that can be used. I think you want to be careful that you're an AI, that you're either a tool, right, that you're being utilized as a diagnostic tool, or you're being used as a workflow tool. You're being utilized, that you're never taking away the core, which is in our world, the radiologist, right, that you're never taking away their expertise, because that's paramount. They are the ultimate expert. What we're trying to create is products that can help them to be able to do their jobs more efficiently, that they can have more confidence in what they're doing, that parlays down into a better experience for the patient, for the hospital. And, that's what I also believe, when you get into the regulatory side, I believe that that's what the, these governing bodies, if it's outside the US or the FDA, is they're really looking at having that strong data, having the number of cases, really showing that efficacy, I believe, is really, really strong. And I think over time, that's being evident and seen. And, I'm still sure there's a lot of, red tape in many different scenarios. Nobody's scenario is the same, but I do believe that the governing bodies have become more aware. They're more able to scrutinize and lay out the right framework in order to say, hey, I think they've been very fair that they see the value in AI and how this can enhance a patient experience, patient outcomes. Yeah. And, they want to make sure that they're diligent about bringing those great products to market. And so I think that's why you're seeing, at least, historically over the last 3 to 5 years, the FDA become a really streamlined process where you see, a much longer process OUS when you get into the MDR and CE, that it's taking much longer than it ever did before. And I think that's a testament to what's happening, here stateside with the FDA, is that they're really putting a focus and an understanding, and really have great experts that are looking at each filing.
Yeah, interesting. So I know you have an international presence. Just tell us a little bit about that. And you mentioned some of the regulatory challenges. What other, I guess, maybe challenges are there, or in terms of spinning that up?
Yeah, I think in the U.S. there's different layers. There's reimbursement that you might be looking at. There's workflow efficiencies you might be looking at. You have Medicare. You have private pay. You have individuals that are the concierge, that they're willing to pay cash out of pocket for specific pieces that might give them insight into what their body is going through or what can be predicted in the future. You see a lot of that here in the US, and you see a lot of companies OUS really trying to come. I mean, the US is the biggest medical device market in the world, hands down. And I think for us, we're very heavily focused on the US, but we also understand that there's a bigger, broader world out there that also deserve to have our products, because it's really helping to aid in the diagnosis, it's aid in treatment, it's being able to look post-treatment and really give visibility into whether the disease state is progressing, whether or not it was being held off or put into another stratosphere of what our product with a combination of radiologists is really able to do to allow the patient to feel secure that what was treated is actually now gone, right? That's a really big deal. When you get into Europe, it's a little bit different. It's more socialized medicine. It's more for example, in the radiology world, you'll have countries like the UK that are like 12 weeks behind just on very critical scanning metrics. France is another country that they're falling behind in just routine treatment for scanning. And with that comes different challenges, but ultimately, as long as you're willing to work with institutions and look at outcomes and how you can help them, there's great opportunities there. But it's very different because here you have one country, 330 million people. In Western Europe alone, you're looking at 14, 16 countries, and everybody's got their own specific piece. Even though you may have CE/MDR approval, there's still other regulations within each country that will need to be met. So it's a very different process. I think many U.S. companies going to Europe, understand the Europe model. I think those European companies coming to the U.S., I think they sometimes struggle a bit to understand what it takes to actually in the market, what it takes to acquire business. It's can be a tedious process, and one that can be costly as well. And so I think there's a much higher cost of entering and being part of the U.S. market as compared to to being part of the European market. And then obviously when you get into Asia, there's different pieces there, and we do very well in the Asia markets. And again, because of our product is universal, so it can really transcend. It doesn't it's not something that's so niche that it only works here versus there. It really is that broad adoption. So for us, our piece that we're not stopping until every day, every person that's getting scanned is getting scanned with some level R technology, and that's our ultimate drive. Is to continue to be the leader, but to expand that utilization, because it really is in the best interest of not only the providers but the patients as well.
Well, it's interesting. So from a value proposition standpoint, I imagine that there's a cost savings and B, an outcome improvement. Can you just maybe elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, it's there's prime examples like our OnQ prostate. So we have patented technology, restrictive spectrum imaging. We're the only company in the world that can do it. It's very unique. It really tries to remove the subjectivity when looking at prostate cancer and really look at it from an objective standpoint. And with that is there's prime examples of just normal prostate MRI scanning. You and I, both being men that eventually at some point, you may already have we will need to have our prostates scanned. Yep. And there's many times that the prostate cancer is missed or that something is called out, but it's not specific. And so, our technology allows for the undiagnosed or the overdiagnosed to really become truly diagnosed. And so that's a huge value when I think about it for myself, is we have many patients that, testimonials that, hey, normal MRI scanning missed my prostate cancer. Once I went to a facility that had OnQ prostate, they were actually able to help in diagnosing the cancer and then help to treat it. Wow. So there's that. It helped save my life sort of testimonials, right? And that's the impact that this can make. And furthermore, it's removal of, say, unnecessary biopsies. So to the health system, we're helping the health system to say, you don't need to do, insurance companies, the cost burden, and you don't need to do unnecessary biopsies. That's just one example for, OnQ, prostate. And we have these lesion segmentations that we're able to segment, lesions so that somebody can actually see, what may exist within, a particular, lesion, to see the depth, to see what's happening after treatment, whether, necrosis existing. So it's just as much of a workflow and enhancement, but then it's really those outcomes that you get from it. And it's wonderful that our AI technology is really aiding in that, and it's really being adopted. And I think the AI trend is only going up. I think you had a lot of people to suspect of it, to say, hey, is it really helping? But as time goes and there's more data, I think it's really positive to know, you have that peace of mind that it's there. Yep. You're still in control, but it's there, and that it's a helpful piece, not only to you, but to those around you, and ultimately the patient. We have reports, patients can see the report, they can actually have a conversation with their providers that can say, hey, this is the part of your brain that, we're noticing, something that for us to call out, to watch and to look at. That's something that in the past, you can't show up, a patient. I have no clue what I'm looking at. If you showed me a black and white image, I would know. And you could talk about it, but I could say, but I would not know, because it just looks like a cloud in some levels. And so now really having this color coordination, this volumetrics, numbers, quantification tied to it, it really, really is bringing a tremendous amount of value in the AI and healthcare world.
What about from a funding perspective, Kyle? How, if you could just share a little bit about how you're funded and maybe some experience that you've had in that area.
Sure. Yeah, I think, as you were saying, a lot of your viewers are, leaders within the healthcare AI, world. I think, one of the biggest pieces is not getting enough funding. If you have a great product that can allow you to really quickly spiral in an organization, I think you need to kind of be prepared to over ask for, the funding purposes, because you just never really are going to know how much that cost is, even how much you model it, you just don't know. But, we're very fortunate. We, as an organization, have had really one main investor until we just went through our latest round, where we brought in an amazing partner that the pure focus was, growth in our R&D activities, growth in our product enhancement, and ultimately growth in our commercialization of what we're doing, not only here in the US, but as well as abroad. And, very few companies, as you're looking, really get to have that Series A, Series B type of, financing opportunities. There's a lot of those companies that are, maybe getting seed money, maybe getting the chance at Series A, and then you see them, lasting for 2.5 more years, and then the runway, and the business has not been acquired at the level they would want. And so you see a lot of companies really focusing on the US, but it's also the hardest to break into, right? The length of time to be able to do that. So, our I'd say our fundraising efforts, we had a really great partner before I came on board that's really believed, in us as an organization, and we added in a new, partner. So, it's a very, tight-knit group, great board. We don't have, 80 different companies investing, so I think we're in a really good, spot from that. But I think, to your listeners, my advice is you need to over raise,
Yeah.
and in order to prepare yourself for that extra 30% run rate that you may need in order to help get you to that next spot. I think you're always raising, you're always in that mindset, and it takes a different a certain skill set that I'm sure all of your listeners have. But just a little bit of our situation and things that we've gone through and where we're at as a company. So hopefully a little bit of that can help those that are listening in their capital raise, fundraising journey.
What about your go-to-market model? If you can just maybe describe it a little bit, and maybe some of the things that you've learned scaling up your business.
Yes, for me, I've run a couple different companies in the past, prior to coming on here at Cortechs, and I think part of it is you've got to be really fiscally responsible in what we're doing. But our go-to-market pieces, we really look at all three phases. So we have a direct sales organization. We have a partnership component of our team. So we have a group that's really leading our partnership efforts from an OEM perspective to distribution groups throughout the globe, and then as well as OEM strong relationships that we're working with them to make sure our technology is accessible for their teams as they're talking directly with hospitals and maybe making a really big MRI purchase, and they may want to have our technology connected. So we're really focused on the direct, the strategic, and the distribution angle. And so we have a pretty robust commercial organization that's really clicking on all cylinders, which is very exciting. Sometimes you may not have the financials to be able to go and hire a robust commercial team. So you're looking at the distribution side, and I use the word hope. I don't normally use the word hope because hope's not a strategy, but ultimately a lot of companies are hoping that a strategic will want to jump on board and partner with them. And I think sometimes they kind of get hit with a dose of reality that, partnering with a strategic is not something that's easy. It takes time. And then even when you have a partnership, it takes time to cultivate the relationship that now come into sales. And so, and distributors, you gotta be really smart about the distribution partners you pick, and they're going to be smart about who they go with as well. But, you're investing resources and energy and time to do it. So, but ultimately overall, our go-to-market is we really listen to the physicians. We listen to, the hospital administrators, the healthcare market of what's missing, what would enhance their, daily lives. Not about, we created something really cool in the science lab. Yep. It's really more about what the market is asking for, and that's how we develop. And then when we go out and implement that, we really look at that from our direct commercial organization, our distribution, connection web, and then as well as the strategic, so the big, OEM providers of MRI scanners.
Excellent. Well, this has been a really enlightening interview. Maybe just in closing, Kyle, if you had maybe one or two pieces of advice for our audience, so CEOs that are building and scaling healthcare AI companies, what would those be?
I live and breathe by the model of yes, if. I would say that that's a model, as well as the answer is always yes, but with an if. And I think as you're scaling, you have to be willing to say yes, but you also have to know that there's an if with it. And I think so many times, you get CEOs can get themselves into partnerships that may not really make sense. That may be more of a calorie suck than, really adding value. And then as well as, kind of what I said a little bit is you really need to overraise, and you need to, especially, if you're coming from OUS to the US, or US to Europe, is just understand the cost and know that it's probably going to be a little bit more than what you anticipate. And I think you got to just continue to have that hunger and know as you're, as many of these, colleagues of mine are CEOs in these healthcare, you're going to wear different hats, and you just got to be prepared to be in the trenches with your team. Don't ask anything of your team that you wouldn't do yourself. And I'm assuming that's kind of the badge of honor that many of your listeners, carry with them. But those are just a few pieces of advice that I would share.
Awesome. Well, this has been a great interview. I really appreciate your insights, and I know our audience will too. So thank you very much, Kyle.
Yeah. Thank you, Dario. I appreciate it. Pleasure to be on.